When I was 19, I took up a babysitting gig for a family that lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The Andersons were known for their three children, Lily, Jake, and the youngest, Emma, who was just a toddler. Babysitting had never been my forte, but I was in need of some extra cash. The night started off quite normal, with the parents leaving me instructions on how to put the kids to bed and numbers where they could be reached. After tucking the children in, I settled into the living room to catch up on some homework while keeping an eye on the baby monitor. The television droned on in the background as I worked. Around 9 p.m., the house phone rang. Startled, I answered it to hear Mr. Anderson on the line, telling me they'd be home later than expected. As he spoke, something in the background caught my attention, a soft, haunting melody. Mr. Anderson brushed it off as the TV in the background and continued the conversation. After our call ended, I realized the eerie melody was coming from the baby monitor. I rushed to the nursery and found little Emma sitting upright in her crib, giggling and clapping her hands. She wasn't old enough to turn on the mobile above her crib, let alone reach it. I figured it must have been some sort of mechanical glitch, so I switched it off. I returned to my homework, feeling an uneasy weight in the pit of my stomach. The melody continued to echo in my head long after I'd turned it off. As I toiled away on my assignments, an abrupt hush fell over the house, replacing the comforting hum of the TV. A profound silence enveloped everything. My unease grew as I heard soft, dragging noises coming from the nursery. With my heart pounding in my chest, I ventured back to the room to find the baby's crib empty. Panic overcame me, and I began searching the house frantically. Emma was nowhere to be found. I felt a wave of terror wash over me as I scoured every inch of the house for any sign of Emma. She couldn't have just disappeared, but that's exactly what it seemed like. The other children, Lily and Jake, were sound asleep in their beds. I raced back to the nursery, hoping I might have missed some hiding place within the room. It was then that I heard the faint melody once more. It was no longer coming from the mobile, but seemed to originate from beneath the floorboards. Desperation fueled my actions. I tore at the carpet, revealing a loose board underneath. Frantically, I pried it open to find a dark, narrow crawl space hidden beneath the nursery. The haunting melody had grown louder, and I could see flickering candlelight in the cramped space below. With a deep breath, I lowered myself into the darkness and crawled forward, making my way toward the source of the music. It wasn't long before I stumbled upon a scene that would forever haunt my dreams. In a secluded chamber beneath the house, I found Emma. She was lying on a makeshift altar surrounded by lit candles. Her eyes were wide open, staring blankly at the ceiling. Her tiny hands clutched a tattered book, and from it, the haunting tune emanated. I snatched Emma from the altar, doused the candles, and scrambled back into the nursery. I hugged her tightly, praying for her safety. The haunting melody gradually faded, but the terror I had witnessed still lingered. When the Andersons returned, I could hardly explain the ordeal. They claimed to have no knowledge of the hidden chamber or the disturbing rituals I'd discovered. It was as if they couldn't see the darkness lurking beneath their own home. I refused to babysit for them again and never returned to their house. To this day, I wonder what malevolent force I had unwittingly stumbled upon that fateful night. In the summer of 2018, I took a babysitting job for the Williams, a friendly couple in our small town. Their two kids, Emily and Max, were polite and well-behaved, which made my task relatively easy. One warm July evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I sat with Emily and Max on the porch, sipping lemonade. Their parents were attending a town meeting, and I was in charge until they returned. We laughed and chatted, enjoying the pleasant summer air, until a sudden chill swept over us. It was as though a shadow had fallen on the porch. Startled, I looked around, but the evening was calm and quiet. The kids shivered, and I couldn't ignore the unease that crept over me. It felt like something was watching us, lurking just out of sight. The unease escalated when I heard a whisper, faint and indecipherable, carried by the wind. I couldn't pinpoint the source, but it sent shivers down my spine. The kids seemed to have heard it too, their expressions a mix of confusion and fear. The whispering continued, each word unintelligible, but it grew louder and more insistent. Emily and Max clung to me, their fear evident. I tried to comfort them, convincing myself it was just a trick of the wind, but I couldn't deny the growing sense of foreboding. Suddenly the porch light flickered, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding trees. I picked up my phone to call the Williams, hoping they would return soon. But to my dismay, there was no signal. It was as though we were cut off from the rest of the world. The whispering escalated to a disconcerting murmur, like a multitude of voices all speaking at once. It seemed to surround us, emanating from the very air we breathed. Panic gnawed at the edges of my mind as I huddled with the kids. As the minutes passed, I could make out faint words in the chorus of whispers, but they made no sense. The voices seemed desperate, pleading, as though they were trapped in some inexplicable torment. The situation had spiraled into pure dread. Just when I feared we might be overtaken by the unnatural phenomenon, a car's headlights pierced the night. The Williams had returned, their expressions mirroring our terror as they hurried onto the porch. Without hesitation, Mr. Williams picked up his phone and made a call. He spoke in urgent, hushed tones, his face pale. I couldn't hear the conversation, but within minutes a group of neighbors had gathered on our street, armed with flashlights and determination. The whispers grew frantic, almost frenzied, and then, just as suddenly as they had begun, they stopped. The eerie chill lifted, and the porch light stabilized. It was as if the mysterious presence had decided to retreat. The neighbors searched the area, but they found nothing unusual. No explanation, no source for the haunting whispers. It remains a baffling mystery to this day. The Williams never asked me to babysit again, and I couldn't blame them. The incident had left an indelible mark on us all. In my late teenage years, I was on the lookout for some extra cash. Babysitting seemed like a good option, and soon enough I found a gig for a local family. They had a precocious little girl named Mia. The babysitting job started like any other. Mia's parents provided me with the essentials, and they gave a rundown of their daughter's routine. Everything was going smoothly. Mia and I had a fantastic time. We played games, read books, and watched movies. But things took a strange turn as bedtime approached. Mia insisted that her parents read her a story from a specific old book. Her parents hadn't mentioned this particular story, but I thought it wouldn't hurt to indulge her. I opened the book and started to read. The tale was dark, about a shadowy creature that lurked in the closet. To my surprise, it wasn't a typical children's story, but rather something eerie and unsettling. Mia listened with a somber expression, and when I finished, she whispered, "He's here." I reassured her, thinking it was just a child's imagination. But then I felt a chill run down my spine. I heard the soft, almost inaudible scraping of claws against wood coming from the closet. The closet's door creaked open, and from the darkness emerged a skeletal, elongated hand. My heart raced as I grabbed Mia, rushing out of the room. I called her parents, panicked and unsure of what I'd witnessed. They returned home quickly, offering vague explanations and thanking me for my help. There was something off about their response, as if they were well aware of what had occurred. I never returned to babysit for them, and I couldn't shake the memory of that night. It remained an unexplained and unsettling experience,